Thanks for choosing us. Now we'll start with the governing New Patriotic Party because they will in a few hours officially outdoor Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh as the running mate to its flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Now this is after the National Executive Committee of the party had endorsed his nomination. Well, a new survey from Global Info Analytics shows Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh is loved more in the Ashanti region than in the Greater Accra region. Here's Executive Director of Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwah, who is saying that the NPP has a daunting task convincing the voter population in the Greater Accra region to vote for them with Dr. Bawumia and NAPO on the ticket.
It's very clear that in Ashanti region, most of the voters prefer Matthew Poku-Prempeh. If you look at the favorability rating, he is plus 60% in that region, followed closely by Canada, Japan with plus 55%. Educhum and Professor Pukunyina are tied on 43%. So clearly in the Ashanti region, there's no doubt about who they prefer to lead, to become the running mate for Bawumia in the Ashanti region. When we come to Greater Accra, that's where the story changes a bit. In Greater Accra, Dr. Matthew Prempeh is minus 11% negative, negative approval rate, probability rating. And then Kennedy is on plus 3%. So what we can say is that from the data, it is clear that whereas Matthew will be a positive for NPP in the Ashanti region, in Greater Accra, it will be a negative. Yeah, I mean, this data is across all demographic, both NPP, NDC, floating voters, other parties, as well as those who don't disclose their party affiliation to us. So at the broader level, he's doing 75%, and 22% said no, they don't support it. This would include NDC people as well. So you shouldn't be worried too much about
the, okay.
Exactly. But if the objective is to appease to the base, then it's important you look at how the NPP voters perceive the nomination. That's where you see about 89% of them say they support the nomination, which means that within the base, he's achieving the reason why he's being nominated to that position. So on that score, he's doing very well. But maybe across other areas, that you can see some vulnerability. I think they've made a decision to appoint NAPO. Ashanti region will be okay in terms of what they expect, but they have to be circumspect in where and how they deploy him across the country. If you bring him to Accra, what issue do you want him to talk about? How do you repackage him so that the people in Accra would accept him? More importantly, the people in NPP stronghold. These Accra views are coming from NPP stronghold. So if this data is expanded across the region, it could be worse. So
well, the Deputy National Communications Officer of the NDC, Malik Basintale, says the NDC will be working to turn around the fortunes of the party in the Ashanti region before the December polls.
So we are gradually moving away from that era where people say you are an Ashanti, so we'll vote for you because you are Ashanti. You have been an Ashanti since. NAPO was an Ashanti when he was education minister. What did he do in the education sector in the Ashanti region? He should point to one single school, one school he took to the Ashanti region. Point to one university, just one, he took to the Ashanti region. In other words, when teacher trainees and nursing trainees were not being paid their allowances, there were Ashantis that were not also being paid. Or what? When very archaic policies like the three-shift system was being introduced under the free SHS system or the senior high school system, it affected the people of the Ashanti region. I know Ashantis who kept on crying. Look, NAPO, you are education minister, please set up and bring policies to the Ashanti region. Let us remember you for something you've done for us because you are an Ashanti. He couldn't do anything. In fact, when he became energy minister, that was when the Ashanti region actually even demonstrated against Dumso, if you remember, in 2021. And in fact, it was same 2021 that he NAPO's overlord in the Ashanti region, the O2 forces to the second, actually cried that his home appliances were being damaged by Dumso and what have you. It was under the era of same NAPO. So the mere fact that you are an Ashanti and you made energy minister did not resolve the crisis you imposed on us. In fact, you actually introduced the crisis on us. And you can go through the record. So the good people of the Ashanti region think that, look, if you've not been able to do anything for us, even as your days as education minister, if you're not able to do anything for us, even at your days of being an energy minister, then we don't think you can do anything for us, even if you become running mate. Now,
let's take you live now to Kumasi and speak to Nana Addo. He's on the ground because today the NPP is officially unveiling Dr. Bawumia and his running mate, NAPO. And so we go live to Kumasi. Nana Addo, what can you report for us? What's the mood in the area?
Live here at the Menchia Palace. Inside the palace is where the Ashanti to the second will be receiving the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and then his running mate, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. Well, information that we are picking is that the President of the Republic, Nana Addo, is likely to join the presidential candidate of the NPP and his running mate, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, here at the Menchia Palace, and then subsequently to the Kumasi Jubilee Park, where we would have the grand unveiling of the NPP's running mate. And so everybody who does matter in the New Patriotic Party is currently here at the Menchia Palace as we await the Ashanti to take a seat. And then the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, with his running mate, would also mount the seat, and then would have the formal introduction of Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh to the Ashanti to the second. And so you can see on this podium, we have everybody who does matter in the New Patriotic Party seated. We have from the former chairman of the NPP, Mr. Freddie Blade. We have the national chairman who will be coming in no time, Stephen Intim. The Works and Housing Minister, you can see there is Kojo Nkrumah, and then the current Minister for Information. And then also we have Dr. Efri Akoto, once contested as the NPP's presidential candidate. He contested against the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and then he's also seated here. The event is expected to be grand, as the NPP will be unveiling its running mate, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, at the Kumasi Jubilee Park. Let's get interactive with some members of parliament who are here, executives of the New Patriotic Party, who are seated here at the Menchia Palace as we wait the Ashanti to sit down for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh to also take their seats, and then we have the official introduction of Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. Then let me get in touch with the Works and Housing Minister, who is the Vice Chair of the NPP's Manifesto Committee, the Honourable Kojo Nkrumah. He's also the Member of Parliament for the Ofuase Ayrebi constituency. Honourable, you're live on Joy News. I mean, today we're having the official presentation of Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh. I mean, what are we to expect from the NPP as we outdoor your running mates?
Well, first of all, it's part of a big process that we are going through, and we had earlier advertised that around April or May we'll do it. But there was a need to complete a few processes. Finally, it's been done, and today first, he's a royal as well. So today, first of all, we're here at Menchia Palace, where the leader of the party, Dr. Bawumia, will formally inform Otumfuo of his selection and the approval by the National Council. And then from here, we'll go to the Jubilee Park for the grand outdooring of the ticket. It signifies the teeing off of our campaign, because right after that, the candidate is going to get out there on the national stage, articulating the key messages and the key policies and programs that we intend to roll out now that our manifesto is almost completed.
And what people are saying is that you brought in Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh because you're losing popularity in the Ashanti region, and then you are presenting him to the Ashanti, all because your numbers is going down in the Ashanti region. Is that the case?
Far from that. First of all, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh has a strong track record within the party and within the executive corridors of power. If you talk to any of the ministers in cabinet, they will tell you that he's one of the hardest working ministers in this administration. Some of the portfolios he's handled are the most difficult portfolios that anybody could handle in that administration, and he has battled through these portfolios to ensure that the president's agenda and the president's objectives are achieved. So when you're looking for a running mate, you're looking for somebody who will be a hard worker to push the ticket and to support the cause, just as Dr. Bawumia himself did for then candidate Akufo-Addo. And so choosing Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh is more about the competencies that he brings to the ticket than any of these stories that our critics may want to throw up. And they are critics. You expect them to, make some of these concerns. Secondly, I mean, for anybody who is accustomed with politics and culture and tradition, you will be unintelligent to select, after having selected such a candidate, to say you can just get on the road and campaigning without formally coming to inform Otumfuo. When people on their own even win tickets, they come to Otumfuo to present themselves. How much more having selected a running mate like Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, who is also a royal, who is from the Ashanti region. Any student of politics will tell you that it makes sense to first come and pay homage to Otumfuo and to present him to Otumfuo, and then we got on the road. We as politicians, when we enter a town or a village, you don't just go about campaigning. You first go to the palace to announce yourself, to pay your compliments, to introduce your team, and then you get out. And that's exactly what we're here to do today.
Right after introducing him or presenting him to the Ashanti, and then you unveil him at the Kumasi Jubilee Park. At the unveiling event, what kind of speech are we expecting from Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, considering the fact that his critics continue to hit hard on him with his track record in the education and then the energy sector?
Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh has been selected to assist the candidate. He will be speaking about what he brings to bear in assisting the candidate to prosecute our party's agenda. You should not be surprised that people will attack Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh or the flagbearer. The accounts have a proverb that says that Dodo Enisa Diosun Takrache is the one who wears the feathered hat. That attracts a lot of attention, and within that attention, a lot of attacks. So those ones are really not issues that we should even worry too much about. For us, we are clear in our mind that this country is at a certain point where we need to step up the execution of some of the programs. And we're clear in our mind that we have a pair who lead our pack to achieve this. So the kind of comments you will hear him make are comments about what he brings to bear in assisting the candidate to prosecute that agenda that we have for election 2024.
As Vice Chair of the NPP's Manifesto Committee, you told me earlier that your manifesto is almost ready. After the first phase of the Dr. Bawumia's tour, what are we to expect from the Manifesto Committee?
Well, we were given a task. There were subcommittees that were set up. They did a lot of consultation with everyday Ghanaians, members of the academia, civil society groups, and they brought their recommendations. And you have to match these recommendations with our philosophy as a party. We're a party that is right of center. Within the conservative bloc, we are right of center. So what is the center-right or the conservative approach to tackling this problem or that problem or that problem? And how does it align with the recommendations from academia and civil society and everyday Ghanaians and, the experts in that area? We've put it all together. We have now reached a point where the final packs have been made available to the key persons who would go through the review. And when that review is done and we have the sign-off, we expect that very early in August, we will have the opportunity to launch the manifesto. The launch of the manifesto is also critical to us because it contains the final bits of policy commitments we want to make to the Ghanaian people. And so you see that as a candidate is starting his general second wave where he's visiting all 275 constituencies. It will be married with the policy commitments that we are making. Those policy commitments constitute our proposition in the next social contract. A government is elected and a social contract is formed between the people and the government on executing some specific things. So in our manifesto, you will see our policy commitments on that social contract that we are hoping to sign with the people of Ghana on the 7th of January in the year of our Lord 2025.
Before I let you go, with Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, are you winning election 2024?
We are confident that, first of all, election 2024 is a difficult election. And that is why we talk about breaking the 8. We don't say it out of glee. We say it because we recognize that after 2 terms in office, it is a hurdle for any party that seeks to cross to a 3rd term. We recognize that. And that is why we remind ourselves that we want to cross to the 3rd term. having acknowledged that, what we have done is also to recognize some of the challenges that are around us, but also to show clearly what our policy recommendations on addressing those challenges are. And we ask the Ghanaians to compare our candidate, Dr. Bawumia, to the leading opposition candidate, Mr. Mahama, and to ask themselves, between these two, who can you trust that, for example, when it comes to protecting and improving the senior high school program, he would? Between these two, who can you trust that when it comes to providing a response to rising crude oil prices on the world stage, he will provide a response? I'm not sure so far you have heard the NDC's candidate offer a proposition on how he would have tackled global crude oil prices. And sometimes I'm a little worried that you, our colleagues in the media, are not asking, because Dr. Bawumia has said clearly that in the face of rising crude oil prices, he proposes a gold for oil program so that we don't have to further struggle to get foreign exchange to go buy crude oil, because that would then even exacerbate the situation on the local market. And today we are seeing the impact. The NDC's candidate says fuel prices have gone high, fuel prices have gone high, fuel prices. He hasn't offered you an alternative, and you haven't asked him for an alternative. So we are clear in our mind. It's a difficult election. There are difficult issues to deal with. We have a strong pair, and we are putting our propositions on the table and asking, inviting our colleagues on the other side to bring their propositions to specific matters, and then you can help us interrogate. For example, the NDC now says that they support free senior high school and that they would improve it. Has anybody asked them what are the terms of the improvement they are talking about? You are not asking. And all we are saying is, President Mahama says free SHS has caused problems and that he supports free SHS and he supports, but what are the specifics of the improving free SHS? We will show you when we put our manifesto out the specifics of improving free senior high school. He's been criticizing it for so long, he is not giving you an alternative. So for us, we are clear. We're putting our candidates out there and we are putting our policy propositions out there, and that is what gives us the confidence, finally, that Ghanaians, being discerning, will weigh these options and will come to a view that yes, times are hard globally and locally, but when it comes to making a choice between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and former President Mahama, and deciding who you can trust to correct some of these global issues that are affecting us, we are of the humble view that a lot more Ghanaians will repose confidence in Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
Works and Housing Minister there, Kojo Nkrumah, talking to my colleague Nana Addo. Key takeaways from that conversation, because he's also vice chair of the manifesto committee for the NPP. He says in August the party will officially outdoor their manifesto. We are your election headquarters, and at 1 p.m. my colleague Evans Mensah, who is head of our political desk, would be in the studio with Winston Amwa and Elton Broby, leading members of the political desk, as well as Raymond Akwa, he is head of our research desk, to bring you full coverage of the unveiling of NAPO. Let's stay with NAPO, because as the former education minister takes on his new role as running mate for the new patriotic party, students who benefited from his hallmark free senior high school policy have been sharing their experiences, shedding light on both its successes and challenges. They spoke to my colleague Jacqueline and Smaiwa.
Today, we take an important step on that journey. From today onwards, no child will ever be denied senior high school education simply because his or her family is unable to afford it.
With the upcoming elections heating up, the spotlight is on the former education minister who championed the free senior high school policy, now chosen as the running mate for the new patriotic party. This policy, a significant milestone in Ghana's education system, aimed to relieve parents of the financial burden of secondary education. But how do the students, the direct beneficiaries, rate its impact and the minister's capability? We spoke to some students, and their feedback is a mix of gratitude and constructive criticism. One student highlighted the policy's financial relief for her parents, but pointed out the infrastructure issues that hampered her education.
Ishura
and
Felicia.
Okay, which year did you complete school?
2021.
And what about you?
2020.
Okay, so that was 2017 and 2018. Great. Now, first of all, how generally, how was the free senior high school policy for you? You benefited from it. How was it for you?
Well, it was good for me and my family because we benefited a lot. At that time, we had no money to go to that school, but this free senior high helped us to complete it.
It was really helpful. I mean, at that time, my brother was then in senior high, but he was paying fees, so in financial...
He was in senior high school paying fees himself?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So in financial aspect, it really helped. Yeah, it really helped.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about, were you boarders?
Yeah, border.
You're a boarder, and what about you?
Day student.
Why were you a day student? Did you opt to be a day student?
No. When my forms came out, they write it on day student.
Oh, okay. All right. And how was your life as a day student? How was it for you? But did you want it? Even though they gave you day students as your status, did you want to be a day student?
No, because the transportation takes a lot from me.
Okay, so it was 3 years. So your 3 years in senior high school, you were a day student?
Yes, please.
And how was it for you? Did it affect you in any way?
Yes, it affects my financial problems a lot.
Oh, okay. So then the money kept increasing, even though you were not paying fees, but then you were paying for transportation.
Yes, when they increase petrol, it affects me too.
Oh, yeah. And talking about your academics, did it affect you in any way, as in commuting to school every time? Did it affect you? Because then you were not staying on campus. You didn't get to involve yourself in preps and other things. Did it affect your academics in any way?
Yes, because the moment I reach the school, maybe they will have complete one lesson.
Oh, okay. How far away were you from the school? Like roughly minutes. If you take a car, how many minutes would it take for you to get to school?
1 hour.
Oh, really? About would you, assessing this free senior high school, do you think it shows quantity over quality? If you get what I'm trying to say. Now, quality in the year 2021, according to statistics, it said that the majority, the numbers who enrolled increased from 800,000 to 1.2 million of students enrolled under the free senior high school flagship program. Now, that's a lot of number. Do you think that it gave you students some quality education? Do you think you had a quality?
Actually, I would say it's quantity rather than quality.
Let's take you back to the Ashanti region. Nana Addo is on the grounds and is currently at the unveiling grounds when NAPO and Dr. Bawumia would have the official unveiling later today. Nana Addo, tell me what's happening. What's the mood in the area?
Where it's expected that immediately the introduction of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh to the Ashanti is done, the whole of the NPP leadership, as well as the crowd that went into the Menchia Palace, will walk straight to this place that is the Jubilee grounds for the unveiling of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh to the public. Already, some party supporters from the various constituencies are in here, they are seated. 2 hours to the event, the numbers here are very, very encouraging. But before we talk about the numbers, let me go and speak to the member of parliament for Efijaso constituency. That is Efijaso Square constituency. That is Dr. Ayu Efie. Doc, good afternoon. Welcome to Joy News.
Good afternoon to you and the listeners.
You are here early. I thought you would be in Menchia Palace now.
Yes, there's an event going on in Menchia, but as a coordinator and more of overseer to this program, I have to be on the ground. Yeah, so I'm doing my work.
So how do you see the organization, the response of the party supporters so far?
I mean, 2 hours to go, encouraging. Masterpiece. It shows that they've bought the program and they are convinced they have to be here. So obviously, 2 hours to go. This numbers that is good. It's good for me. Yes.
Do you think that the candidature of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh is what is doing the trick for the NPP here?
MPPs, Ashanti, Kumasi remain a stronghold of NPP, and absolutely, we are convinced of the choice of the running mate. We are convinced of the choice of the presidential candidate, and therefore, He's called to Addo the ticket, and obviously his supporters will respond to the call.
Now, it's expected that NPP, if NPP is able to get at least 75% of the votes in the Ashanti region, it's likely that the NPP will be retained or maintained as government in power. Do you think that the candidature of Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Doctor, will be able to help the NPP achieve that target?
The flag bearer or the presidential candidate believes so. I also believe so. And we are going to ensure that it happens like that. So we go to go.
Thank you very much, Doc. So we are still at the Jubilee grounds, and this is where the outdooring will be done to the public. I'm trying to get to the crowd. I don't know if you are able, or the camera is able to show what is happening.
Nana Addo there. We'll be back to you at 1 p.m. when our team is in the studio as we bring you the official unveiling show here on the Joy News channel. We're taking a quick breather. We'll be back with business, to stay tuned in.
Welcome back to business on Joy News today. My name is Winston Taki. Now to our first business story. The German government has affirmed its commitment to support developing countries like Ghana despite the harsh effect of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. That is according to the chair of the Committee of International Cooperation and Development at the German Parliament, Christoph Hoffmann. He spoke to Joy Business at a meeting with the Ghana Free Zones Authority as part of activities to mark the German parliamentarian's visit to Ghana. Here's more.
The visit aims to deepen partnerships and assess the socio-economic impact of developmental projects funded by the German government. A 6-member delegation from the German Parliament's Committee on International Cooperation and Development visited the country. One of the major highlights of their visit was a meeting with the Ghana Free Zones Authority. The meeting at the Tema Industrial Enclave discussed progress of German-funded projects in the industrial zone and prospective areas of investment. Ambassador Mike Okwe Jr. told the media that strengthening partnerships with development agencies will accelerate economic growth.
At the moment, we are also working with whether it's GIZ, IFA, KFW, to look at various areas of interest that would help in the developing of the Tema export processing zone. We know that the zone is full, but we need to manage it better. But because it is full, luckily we've been able to get 1,200 plus acres at Afienya, which is just right across the road. And we are going to start that even on the very right note to make sure that the mistakes that were made in the past will not be repeated.
Dr. Christoph Hoffmann, a Liberal Party representative at the German Parliament and leader of the parliamentary delegation to Ghana, details plans by the German government to support Ghana's industrialization drive.
There's always a lot of things we can improve, and it's not only raw materials. We also want to have the next processing steps within Ghana, and this is a good example here in the free trade zone, where you don't sell raw materials, you sell products. This is more important because a lot more wealth is created by that sense, and that's what we really want, and I think this is what Ghana wants as well. So we're trying to create a win-win situation here as well.
He explains the German government's intent to continuously support countries like Ghana despite the harsh effects of the Russia-Ukraine war on the European country.
We have some budget problems as well. As you can see, we have a problem with high energy prices as the resources from Russia don't come anymore, which were fairly cheap to us, but now we have very expensive energy, and this is driving a lot of companies out of Germany, and we don't have so much subsidy like the US, so a lot of companies going to the US, and so we have some budget problems, and this will also have an effect on the development budget, what we have.
As part of the activities of the delegation was a tour to selected factories in the Free Zones Enclave and inspection of German-funded projects.
Associate Professor and founding head of the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the University of Ghana, Professor Elsie Efa Kaufman, is advocating for the strategic use of artificial intelligence to advance Ghana's educational system. She shared her views during an interview with Joy Business at the Afri AIED 2024 workshop in Accra. IED 2024 workshop focused on crowdsourcing and highlighted effort to build and deploy artificial intelligence in education systems across Africa. Associate Professor of the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the University of Ghana, Professor Elsie Effa Kaufman, emphasized the strategic use of AI in education during the speech at the workshop.
AI is a tool. It's a tool to help us do things easier, better, faster. And very much like all the other technology tools we use in education, it is something that we should consider for what we do. However, because of the power of AI, it has made the work of the educator a little more difficult. That means we can't ask the same old questions we used to ask our learners. If you ask, what is this, can easily be found using the AI. So we now have to be more creative in engaging with our students so that they use the AI as a tool rather than as a source of all answers.
The Chief Operating Officer of Kwami AI, Victor Kumbo, expressed optimism about the potential of Africans to develop AI technologies.
Our vision as Kwami AI is to empower learners with their own knowledge assistance, and especially in Africa, where we realize that mostly technology isn't developed for us. And so the main focus and the reason for this conference is to get together researchers, educators, startups to start to think about how we can actually build education technology that works for Africans. So that, during this workshop, we actually ran a hackathon a month before the program, and we had African students, like university students, building AI technology. So the time isn't coming. It actually is already. We have the minds here who can do it. It's just about giving them the exposure, giving them the support that they need to be able to put it out there for our use.
The Greater Accra STEM coordinator with the Ghana Education Service, Betty Bois, shared insight on the importance of integrating AI into education.
As a STEM coordinator, it's one of the tools that will be very helpful when it comes to education, because now we are having issues of teacher employment, financial, economic challenges, so many things running around, and we know that using AI is one of the things that can cut short, not to replace people anyway, but to reduce the human contact.
That'll be all for business here on Joy News today. My name is Winston Taki. We have more news for you after this break. Stay tuned.